Welcome to Founders Future, a podcast powered by Closers.io, where we dive into the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and explore the road ahead of them and their companies. I'm your host, Olivia Sammons, and in each episode, we'll unpack the stories behind impactful startups, the challenges faced along the way, and the strategies driving their future growth. Today, we're joined by Frankie Johnson, founder of Scattermind, a brand dedicated to empowering neurodivergent individuals through coaching, education, and community. Frankie's mission is to help people with ADHD and other differences embrace their unique strengths and thrive. Frankie, welcome to Founders Future.
Hello, thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure having you here. So, I like to start with all my guests at the beginning of their journey. So, can you take me back to maybe what it was that you was doing before you started Scatterminds?
That's a good question. So before I went full time, I was a chemical engineer. I worked at Procter Gamble, and I was in I made like shampoo. So I made like Pantene, Aussie, Old Spice, Olay. I think there's the Herbal Essence. Yeah, a bunch of really cool brands, which I didn't realize, honestly, at the time when I was working there, I didn't realize they made all that stuff. But yeah, that's what I did. And then I worked at a Keurig Dr. Pepper after that. So I was just an engineer, chemical engineer for about 4-ish years. Yeah.
Okay, and then what motivated you to start up the company from there?
Oh, that's
What
a
was
good
the change?
question. I ultimately just didn't. I think it started as an impetus of being like, I don't like having a job and I'd rather be my own boss. I think it really started from that. And then I think it really rolled into being more about, oh, I like the idea of building something that's like an extension of myself and I can like really focus on helping people. I did
Mm,
working at those two companies, but it's like I didn't really feel like I was helping people in the way that I thought was actually really important, right? I don't really care that much about shampoo. I don't even drink soda. So both of those things were like things that to me think were not things that I really cared about. It just was like, I'm going into this office and I like the people I work with, but it just wasn't very fulfilling. And I didn't feel like I was doing something with my time that I really felt like if I looked back in time, would I be like proud that I spent my time this way? And that's what made me decide of, oh, maybe I want to do something different. So yeah.
love it. I feel you're serious, looking more for like fulfillment from your work as well, not just like working to get by and do other things. I love that. So
Yeah.
let's dive into the business a little bit more so the listeners can have more context. So
Yeah.
who would you say is your ICP? Who's your ideal customer? And then from there, what offers, like what is the offer and what services do you provide?
Yeah. So I think like my ICP is basically ADHD entrepreneurs, right? I focus on people with ADHD that want to build a business, that are trying to basically, honestly, live the same life that I was trying to live, which is like build
Nice.
something that they can live off of, something they can survive, build, and they can help people in the way that they want to be helped. And it's more about a lot about fulfillment. Like I think that's like the big thing that I experienced was like the work that I was doing made me feel like my time was going nowhere, and it made me feel very unfulfilled. And I really want to help people in that. And the overarching goal of what I'm trying to build is I just came up with this tagline. I'm basically trying to build the operating system for ADHD entrepreneurs, where the big problem that I'm trying to solve is, I think a lot of ADHDers are really smart and they have like really great ideas, but where the problem where they really fall flat on is being consistent is like the real
Mm,
problem, right? Like it's showing up every day. And when you are trying to build something and you don't have oh, you're going to get fired if you don't do this, it's really important that you motivate yourself to get there. And I don't even know if it's about motivation per se. I don't think I can manufacture motivation, but I think a lot of times people get distracted very easily, or they're not putting the time into buckets that they should be putting it in. And over while I was working at my job, but also over throughout my 20s, I really built this system that allowed me to just manage myself. And it's like a combination of a bunch of different stuff. But as I've built businesses, right, because Scatterman wasn't my first business, but as I built businesses, I realized like there's all these systems that I manage myself with that people were like, oh, tell me more about this, or how do you like manage this, or like how do you keep yourself on task for this type of stuff. That
mm.
was like I realized as I got better at business, I was like, oh, I think I can monetize this. And then as I've gotten deeper into it, I'm realizing like, oh, there's a lot more stuff that I do or that I can imagine that would be even more helpful for ADHDers because I think we're entering an age where entrepreneurship's only going to become more popular and it's only going to be more like obtainable for more people. The barrier of entry is going down significantly lower. And I really think there's a lot of the overall big mission is that entrepreneurs pretty much solve the world's problems, right? Like they're the people that are like the
Yeah.
inventors, they're the creators, they're the people that are really going out and solving the world's problems before a company comes in and does it like more at scale. And my big hypothesis basically is that like a lot of ADHDers, a lot of entrepreneurs have ADHD. They're like high functioning ADHD, right? And My theory basically is that if there's a bunch of pool of ADHDers out there that just don't have the high functioning abilities or they don't have the systems in place to really go and solve their own problems. But if they did, there'd be a lot more entrepreneurs. And if there's a lot more entrepreneurs, obviously a lot more problems in the world would be solved. And then like to take it even a step further, I think there's a lot of people, a lot of like problems that happen in like low income areas that just don't have a big price tag attached to them, that don't get attacked because there's just not people that don't care about them, or there's people that they don't have a lot of attention to. So my theory basically is like if more people were like better problem solvers or they had more abilities to solve more problems, then typically people solve problems that happen in their neighborhoods. And that's the overall mission, is just like how can I help people solve better problems, solve their own problems, and then also help their own go back to their own neighborhoods and help themselves. Yeah, that's a long-winded answer, but yeah.
No, I love it. And it's, as you said, it's right on the money. Entrepreneurship and ADHD are like a marriage made in heaven because
100%.
like it does give you the freedom to express yourself. You haven't got like the restraints of time pressures, which is a big thing for ADHD people. And like even to mention what you said about motivation, it's not the lack of motivation. It's just like when things are too complicated to do, or there's too many steps or too many processes, like it's just you don't want to touch them. Like for the listeners, I have ADHD too, so it's not I'm not motivated to do the job. I don't have the capacity to start it. My brain just doesn't know where to start, so it doesn't start. So the
100%.
organization coming into it, I love the side of that as well.
100%.
Love it. So how are you going about acquiring your customers at the moment?
Well, that's a good
That
question.
process.
I'm using a multitude of different channels, and I think my strategy is probably going to change in the new year. I use Reddit a decent amount. I use LinkedIn. I use
Hmm.
Twitter. But I think what I would like to do, I think for the future is I would like to build like a brand or do more like video content. So I'm
Mm,
probably gonna move probably like over the next year, I'm going to move probably primarily to YouTube and Instagram realistically, just because I think a lot of ADHDers are in that area. But also I think like the kind of content that I'm trying to make, short form wise, I think can be right on Instagram, probably on TikTok as well, just
yeah.
easier to cross post. But I think long term, I think since I'm building systems, like really explaining the why, you can't really explain a why in a short form video. Maybe you can grab people's attention, but I think realistically, what I would like to build for the future is just because like marketing's hard and obviously ads is like probably the primary way to go. But if you don't have the resources, you don't have the money, like I don't have the money right now, I would probably be running ads. But I think if I can just build a really strong brand on YouTube, like very organically, that's probably the trajectory that I would like to go, just because that I think if you can build the brand and it just continues to fuel the fire, and based on the direction that I'm trying to go, I think that's probably the most optimal way to go. Like maybe it takes a long time, but I think like long term is going to be the best solution, basically.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think ads is definitely a key, but if you have the organic growth already and then you add the ads in, they marry together, like they work hand in hand very well. And like I know you're saying there about resources and finances, but like you can start testing on Meta for as little as $30 a day,
Okay,
and you'll
maybe
get result
yeah, I
within
should
about
probably
six
do that.
days. So it is something worth trying and testing as you look to move forward. So currently, how many clients do you have at the moment? How many people are you working with?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna say 10, probably right off the top of my head would probably be it. And it's like usually a rolling 10. And yeah, about 10 clients. And that's because typically my program lasts around 3 months. And then so
Nice.
like cycling through people.
And then
But I
mainly one-to-one, or do you have group on top of that as well?
Yeah, so right now my primary focus is one-to-one. I think, like I said, I'm trying to build the vision is operating system, right? So hopefully, like right now, the primary focus is coaching one-on-one stuff. And the whole goal behind that is like one, drive really strong results, get really strong results for people. That also helps me a lot, allows me to do a lot more marketing, right? But also like I want to build some kind of sustainable business that like the two ways I always break it up is like one, I want to help people and really understand the problem really well. And I think the best way to do that is one on one and really take people through the whole process that I took myself through and understand every step of the way. And that's how I'm building a lot of my content and building a lot of my product right now is going through one by one on one with each person, and then just understanding every single pain point because like I know how to solve them because I've solved them for myself. But it's might have forgot this. So now I need to build my product up based off of that. So it's around like 10 people right now, but I think in the new year I'm going to try and scale that up a lot more as my product becomes
Nice.
more scalable. And then the future, probably in the next year or so, I'll probably start playing around with a lot more software just because I think with AI, there's a lot of big opportunities with building these systems out and doing those types of things. And that's kind of the future. But I think before you even really jump into it, like you really need to understand what are the specific problems, what really makes people tick. And I think that's why I'm taking this slow approach and the more one-on-one approach rather than jumping right into software, just because I think there's a ton of tools out there that ADHDers are like sold. But I think one of the big problems is like a tool is not necessarily a system. Like
Yeah.
you have to build a system and then the tool will make it better or amplify it. And just downloading like Notion, for example, I think a lot of ADHDers, there's the high functioning ADHDers love Notion. There'll be people that are just getting started hate Notion because there's like too many options.
Yeah, I agree.
And what I always say is if you don't take notes and you just jump into Notion, you're gonna be like, what the fuck? This is just so much stuff, so many options. Like I don't know what to do this. Versus if you have a note-taking system and you're like, I need more functionality, then Notion's an amazing tool. And so what I really want to build to the future is a lot of more of these plug and play type systems where no matter what level or degree you're at, you can just plug in and then like it does a lot of the like heavy lifting
Mm.
because a lot of people don't have systems. And I think that's really what I'm trying to build for people is, hey, you just, if you don't know anything about systems, you don't know anything about note taking, you just like, you don't know any of these types of things, you can just sign up and it like gets you started. And I think the
Mm.
best way to start from that is you just have to understand it on like the very basic level.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why I'm going this route. So yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, touched on kind of what I said earlier and what we was talking about earlier, like overcomplication just makes ADHD, it just turns you off. You just like you just
100%.
don't want to be there. But the one-to-one coaching again, because another side to ADHD is understanding your own brain. And I feel like a lot of people at the moment, when they come into it, they don't understand their own way of thinking, which is
For
where the
sure.
organization side comes into play massively. And just working one-to-one with a coach to help you understand yourself will be way more beneficial, like moving forward for your clients.
I think a lot of people just, and this is no fault of their own. I think I was in this bucket as well, is like there's a huge lack of awareness. And I
Yeah.
think it's not something that you can just read in a book. And I think this is what I preach a lot in my program is like awareness is something you have to discover for yourself. You need to discover how you work. It's not something that you can just like, there's a magical person out there that if you just talk to them, they're going to give you all the secrets. Like you have to discover for yourself. And the only way to do that is like through experimentation and like taking action. And a lot of my program is walking people through this process. Obviously, I give them a lot of shortcuts because I'm most likely we have the same problem, like similar problems, but it's not something you can just read in a book and be like, oh, okay, this makes sense. Because it's like the thing that I like, I'm reading this book right now, and it talks about there's a skill and a knowledge gap, right? Like you can get the knowledge, but there's
Mm.
still a level of skill that you need to develop of how to manage your ADHD. That's not, people don't really talk about it as a skill, but it's definitely a skill of like how to understand yourself, how to manage yourself. And you have to think of the ADHD in that kind of sense.
Yeah, it's no 100% true. You have to take all things into consideration when you're looking at it from the outside. What does your sales process look like at the moment? I'm intrigued to find
Ah,
out.
that's a good question. Right now, it's mostly just through calls. So I book calls with people. So my marketing is basically funnels people into calls. And then we jump on a call, and then I usually close them in the first call. Is It's not a two close system, it's a one call system. And maybe I
Nice.
may have a follow-up call because then they I try and give people plenty of time to think about things.
Mm.
But typically it's in the first call. And that's how my sales process goes. And I manage everything through a school. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Cool. So there's a community on school as well, or is it just nice, amazing?
Yeah, I haven't built it up yet, and I think the next step of probably this is like a next year thing. Again, I think my timeline is make sure the product is like perfect, right? Because there's no real perfect. And then the next step is do a bunch of marketing and then probably build through like really build up a school community.
Nice.
I already have people in it already, but I think the goal is not the community yet, just because I'm a very, you don't want to build something on a bad structure. And I think the product is the like the core product is the main structure.
Mm.
And if that structure is not built well, then the school community is not going to work well either. Because if the main thing doesn't generate the results that you want, or it doesn't get people through like aimlessly, seamlessly, then I'm going to be just jumping back and forth. I'm going to be
Yeah.
mediocre at both. And I'd much rather be like really great at product than be really great at community. I think it's a natural skill for me because I'm extremely extroverted, but I think I just the takes things one at a time. And I think that was one of the big learnings from this year is I was so pressed on trying to keep the business alive that I was like rushing through things. And I think once you start thinking short term, it really screws up the whole cycle. You really got to nail product
Yeah.
and you have to do both simultaneously, but you really need to nail your product and you really got to make sure that like it really delivers really strong results. And luckily my product does, but I still think there's a lot of tweaks that can make it even better.
But as you said at the start, nothing is perfect, and things just work out the way they are perfect anyway. Sometimes the imperfection is what makes it good,
Yeah.
but definitely hitting the right people, making sure that things are simplified on the way up is always good. We're talking about systems moving forward. Know who you're hitting, know your niche, know your offer, know who you're putting to, and then work on everything else after that. That is what you've got to do, and fulfilling that offer as well. So, in terms of scaling, because I know you told me the plans you have for the platform coming up and everything else. What would you say is the biggest struggle or challenge in making everything happen at the moment?
Ooh, that's a good question. Biggest struggle, honestly, is I think being an entrepreneur. And I think one thing that I would have done differently is I probably would have waited a little bit more. I really hated my job, so I probably wouldn't have quit as early. But I think trying to think long term while also making sure your bank account doesn't hit zero is super important. And I think that's probably been the biggest struggle for this year is like I'll make a bunch of sales and then I'm like trying to focus on something and then I get paranoid that my bank account's about to go down again. So I'm like in this endless cycle. And I think that's a really big problem that you don't want to fall into, where like you're just trying to make the next couple months work, because then you're just
Mm,
focused on trying to make, you're just only focused on sales and marketing, but you're not trying to really improve the rest of the business. And sure, you can make money, but if it's like it's a leaky bucket, right? If you're pouring water in a leaky bucket, then it's not going to really be that. So I think that was a big challenge that I went through this year, but I would say I've now that I've thought more long term, I plan for the next year and I've really locked in on for the next year. My main goal right now is just make a product that hits like a 90% success rate and it's just continuously. And my success rate is very high still, but I want it to be like extremely high and almost I hit results every single time.
yeah,
And there's no slippage and there's no, slippage in the product, people, what they're signing up for. There's no questions. There's no concerns. There's no anything like that. I think that's the biggest thing is you need to really make sure your product knocks it out of the park. And when clients come in, they get exactly what they're looking for. And that's basically my main goal for the next 4 months is I really want people to leave being like, wow, this is worth 10x more than
yeah,
it is right now. And I think people still leave happy, but I want them to leave happier. Alex Ramosi really talks about a lot about really knocking things out of the park. And
yeah,
like you should have clients that are so happy that they tell all their friends. And I think they're my friend, like my clients are always willing to give me a testimonial, but I want them to be like my main source of selling. They should be telling everyone this is the greatest thing ever. And I don't think I'm there yet, but I think I will be soon. Yeah.
And have you got any like specific revenue targets or like goals that you're looking to hit?
Oh, yeah, that's it. Is that me?
Hmm?
Good. Sorry about that. Revenue targets, like I think beginning of this year, I had my first 10K month, which is really great. So that to me, that just tells me that I can do more. The big goal probably for next year would be 300K a year. That would be my big revenue
Nice.
target. Oh, there we go. Oh, sorry. That'd be my big revenue target. I think if I broke it down to smaller pieces, have my first 25K month. I've signed 25K in contracts before, but I want a 25K in cash month. That would be something that I'd be really happy about.
Nice.
I think even before that though, I really don't want to focus on the money yet because like money is important, but the big target that I really have is I want to collect like 30 plus testimonials. That's my bigger measure of success is like money is important, but like you can make a bunch of money and then you have to refund a bunch of people. So that's not
Yeah.
really like a good measurement. That's more of a measurement of sales and marketing. I think a good measurement for the business is if I can collect 30 plus testimonials, then I think everything else will go perfectly fine. And that's my big measure of success right now is, yeah, that's my big measure of success
Nice.
or completion rate.
Yeah, but fulfillment goal is great to have. As you say, it's like one of the most important things is that people leave happy and they like the product. Otherwise, you're not going to be making 300K a year, are you? So you've got to do the groundwork as well. Just before we log out, I've got one final question for you. So if you could go back to a younger self and leave him with one piece of advice moving forward that now that you didn't know then, what would you say to yourself?
Ooh, that's a good question. My first thought was like, for my, no, actually, I don't, for my younger self, no, I probably wouldn't tell myself not to quit. I probably still would quit. I guess two things. One, I would say sell things a lot sooner. Like I think my first year when I quit my business, when I quit my job, waited a year to try and sell anything. And I don't think that, I think that was just a fear. That was a fear of failing.
Yeah.
But I would do that. The other thing that I would do is not have such a big ego where I feel like I had to figure everything out on my own rather than trying to pay people to teach me
Yeah.
stuff or asking. I know I don't mind asking people for help, but I think there was this thought process of like, why would I pay for anything? I can just figure everything out on my own. And I think if I was more cognizant of how much time trying to figure everything out on your own is, it's a huge waste of time.
Mm.
And so I think I would have gotten a lot faster if I think I would have learned a lot more just paying for things, paying for something and realizing, oh, this is how people are delivering something teaches you a lot and what something that costs like $9,000, what you get out of that and what that expectation is so that you can have a better understanding of, oh, if I'm going to charge this much money, this is what the expectation should be or this is what I should be getting out of something. And I think that also teaches you a lot of, oh, okay, this is how people are delivering certain types of things. These are how people are doing that. Like a lot of the things I'm doing is I'm building a program right now, which is ultimately, I wish I would have signed up for a school way earlier, right? Like if I would have signed up for a school, and I don't know if it probably was around by that time. If I would have bought a school in the first like week, I think it would have gave me a lot better picture of, ooh, what should I be trying to build towards? And what does great look like? I think that is
Mm.
really important. And instead of trying to just build everything on my own, because it gives you, you can only, it'd be like if you're like playing a sport and you think you're great at the sport and then you go play in a tournament, it really tells you very quickly like how good you actually are. And then what do I need to improve on? And without actually doing those things, then you don't actually know how good you are. I think that's a big problem.
Yeah, 100%. It's like the big fish in a small pond syndrome. I don't know if you say that in States. Yeah. And like even that, what you're saying, you need to look at the investments you're making in yourself, like in terms of knowledge. Okay, you might put 9 grand into a package or whatever that's looking to help you, but look at the ROI that you could get out of it at the end.
Oh,
Like if you're a
100%.
better person, you know more and like you're earning more money at the back of it, like that investment you're never going to have back again. You've made
Oh,
it.
100%. And
Love it.
time is the ultimate. I think everyone should measure everything like
Yeah.
at with time is like what's going to get me closer, faster to the thing that I want and what's going to save me the most time. And
Mhm.
don't look at everything with money. Think of everything at time is the ultimate currency of everything. And what's going to save you time or get you to your destination faster is always the better way to think of everything.
Yeah. Love it. And with that is a wrap on another inspiring episode of Founders Future. Frankie, thank you so much for joining me today and for sharing your incredible journey and insight with us.
Thank
Where
you.
can the listeners reach out to work with you or connect if they'd like to do so?
Yeah, you can go to scattermind.co. That's perfectly fine. That has all of my links and everything. So if you want to see my socials, I have a newsletter, I have some like lead magnets, like I have an ADHD quiz and like my 25 like ADHD hacks that I wish I knew. You can go download that. And then also if you want to sign up for a call or anything like that. And like the first call is more so just a discovery call to see like what you're working on and how I can help. And at the end of the call, you should expect that you will have some kind of action plan that gives you a direction of what you should do, whether you decide to join with me or not. I'm just trying to help as much as I possibly can. And if there's any more content that, you want to read up on, there's a newsletter as well. Yeah.
Awesome. Amazing. And to our listeners as well, if you enjoyed this episode, please do not forget to subscribe to Founders Future via wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. And if you are a business owner, specifically a coach, consultant, or agency owner, and you're really looking to scale your business and you want to enhance your sales and marketing efforts, visit closers.io to hop on a call with one of our team and discover how we went from zero to $30 million per year in less than 3 years. But until then, keep climbing and we will see you on the next one.